on the December 2024 What's Neat.
A really great layout to look at this month. The Lake Erie, Cincinnati, and St. Louis Railroad by John Goodhart. This is an absolutely amazing layout.
The What's Neat Show is sponsored by Lombard Hobbies, your value hobby shop for over 40 years of modelers helping modelers. Big inventory, value pricing, fast shipping, and great service. And by Broadway Limited Imports, the cutting-edge leader in model trains. Check out their website at broadway-limited.com. And by Bachmann Trains. Now that's the way to run a railroad. Check out their website at bachmanntrains.com. And thank you for helping us support the best hobby in the world.
This is What's Neat for December 2024. I'm your host, Ken Patterson, and this month we've got a good show in that we have got a really great layout to look at this month. The Lake Erie, Cincinnati, and St. Louis Railroad by John Goodhart. This is an absolutely amazing layout that is designed after the old Batavia layout that we remember from the Chicagoland area. And in fact, this is one of the layouts that we've videotaped when we were up at Lombard Hobbies back in October 2023. That was a great event that they had, and we were able to see John's layout then. Also this month, I do an experiment using glue. There's a new construction adhesive from the folks that make the Foam Pro. So we're going to experiment with that on foam and see how that works out for gluing together layout sections. Also this month, Tyler Haney from Bachmann Industries shares with us a lot of the wonderful new products that they've got coming out for this season of Christmas. A lot of beautiful train sets. And with that, I do want to say, hey, check out the What's Neat This Week video podcast that we produce every Saturday night down here, giving you updates on what's new in this, the best hobby in the world, with our regular podcast crew and special guests, and a lot of new model announcements all the time. I do want to thank everybody so much for supporting this What's Neat show now that we've been producing since 2012. November 2012, I believe, was the very first show that we had put out. So that's an anniversary, you might say. Thank you very much for all of the folks that have watched these videos and helped support the show. It's absolutely a wonderful adventure that we're all having together in this media of video, and how easily attainable it is right there on YouTube. And so with that, let's continue on with this December 2024 What's Neat. For this segment of What's Neat, we're going to talk about glues. Now, over the years, we've obviously been building a lot of layouts out of foam. It's become a great medium, easy to work with, easy to carve. It's wonderful compared to screen and plaster of the old days. But we've shown with this Great Stuff Foam Pro material that you can actually make a Lionel tunnel by simply squirting this material onto window screen, right, over the top of newspapers underneath, and make a really cool tunnel that is actually self-sustaining and structurally sound. But today's experiment, there's a new product on the market from our folks, Great Stuff Construction Adhesive. And so I wanted to put this through the same tests as what we did with the Great Stuff Foam Pro, and also Gorilla Glue, gluing a butt joint together in foam. If you revert back to the April 2017 What's Neat video, we did this experiment using foam, and in fact I made a butt joint with Gorilla Glue, and I dropped a 15-pound dumbbell on top of the joint, straddled between two paint cans, and it held up great, as did the Great Stuff joint as well. A butt joint is one of those joints just like this, where you put the glue on and it goes together just like that, okay? Now we know the material is probably going to work great. The way we use it generally is to stack our foam layers together as we build modules and build scenes. So what I want to do now is I'm going to take this and I'm going to put some of this on right here just like this. And I'm going to make a butt joint. And then I'm going to put some weights between it to hold it together. I'm also going to put some material on a couple of flat pieces of foam. And I'm going to see if this has any expansion to it. Because that's another thing that we've worked with the orange material here. And we do know it expands, but it's controllable with weight. So I'm going to let one of these set up just like this, with no weights on it. And for the last piece, I've already glued it together about 30 minutes ago, and this one has got a weight on it, a very heavy weight, a piece of steel in fact. So I'm going to let all these set up. The one thing I do want to mention on this container, it said that it was best to let the material set up. Specifically what it says is tack free in approximately 14 minutes. And then it says fully cured in 2 to 4 hours. For a hard cure in 7 days. So keep that in mind on this project. Now, what we're going to do is after these set up, we're going to come back and test our joints and see how this material holds up. We've been fortunate on the What's Neat show to share a lot of amazing products from Broadway Limited, along with a lot of other manufacturers over the years now. And I've been running the wheels off of these GP30s that Broadway Limited had sent. They sent 2 models for me to share with you this month. I've got this Santa Fe GP30 number 1259 in the old cigar band paint scheme. Absolutely a wonderful model. I did photograph these outside so that you can see all the amazing detail. They've also sent us this Reading Lines locomotive number 5520. Another beautiful GP30 example. I love the scale handrails on these models. Also shot this model outside. But the fact is I've been running the Santa Fe with the Southern Pacific here, and they're just running together fantastic. Along with the Broadway Limited alligators, it just makes for a really neat consist, and I thought it looked great. But as I ran these locomotives, the sound system in them is also relatively, it's just great. It's amazing. It sounds like real locomotives. And while I was sitting there listening to them, they were throttling up and down as they were pulling the load. So these decoders are set up really nice. This is the Paragon 4 sound from Broadway Limited. But I wanted to just share this with you. It's Christmas, and it's always that time to think about getting those gifts for that model railroader, and you can't go wrong with something like that. It's cool. Okay, so I've let the pieces of foam that we glued together cure for 9 hours using this great stuff, Foam Pro construction adhesive. So the first 2 pieces here, this is our butt joint, and I kept them together with some weights. Now, you saw me actually put the glue onto this, and I feel like it didn't spread that evenly in the joint. So off camera, and actually I filmed this, I went ahead and did another one, except for I used a liberal amount of glue to make sure that the joint was filled. And so that's this piece here. Another good butt joint. And this one, as you can see, the foam has expanded out. Now on the piece where I did not put a weight on it, the foam has expanded and lifted the 2 pieces together. So we know this material does in fact expand. On the piece with the steel weight on it, there is no expansion. So this will work great for us on gluing our foam sheets together like this. Just like the orange Great Stuff has done for us for going on better than almost 10, 12 years. So now for the test. As you saw in the previous video, I put the 15-pound dumbbell weight here on the butt joint that I made with the orange Great Stuff, and also the same thing with the Gorilla Glue, and it held up. So the question is, will our joint on our material that's cured for 9 hours hold up? And I would say it does. Well, it did. That's not bad. Here's the joint where I've got all of the glue, lots of glue. It does hold. So, I mean, this is a good joint. In fact, that one holds very, very well. I also did the same experiment, and I let these pieces cure with the same glue, the construction adhesive. These have been curing for 5 weeks. They've been sitting down here. And I did not have very good coverage on this foam. This is old foam that I've used previously for a diorama. And it does have evidence on the edges that have received air that it was degrading to a powder. So that's why I would say that this one broke so easily. So what do we know from this? We know the orange stuff works. We've been using it for years. We've got something new. It works, but why change? What we've been using for a year works. It's neat to know that this is out there, and the strongest joint of all of them was made with that Gorilla Glue, as I showed in the previous April 2017 What's Neat video, which in fact is a fantastic video all the way through. So with that, that's the end of this experiment for What's Neat. You know, Great Stuff Orange has been working for us. Let's just keep using that. It works for us. This stuff will work as well. It's inconclusive, I would say. It's about the same. A little bit more information on this. I went to the DuPont website and I looked up both the Great Stuff Pro series of construction adhesives and what they call foam insulation sealant. Okay, so what we've been using for years is this orange stuff that has in fact been great at attaching fake fur, gluing foam together, filling gaps. It works good for that. Sets up, you know, in less than 30 minutes and the job is done, ready for carving. This setup time was slower, but really this is in fact an adhesive according to the website. They stress it, that's insulation filling up to 3 inches, and then this is in fact an adhesive, okay? A polyurethane, both polyurethane based. One thing I do want to say is when I was making the words What's Neat on this foam, to fill in just a little bit of time when I was talking about setup times, this stuff peeled up pretty easy. And I noticed it's pretty firm. So what I did, I squeezed out a bunch of the orange stuff here on top, and I studied this. And I think that this construction adhesive might be just a little bit more dense. The bubbles seem smaller in it than when I was scraping this down and looking at the bubbles. Just a little side note. So, for example, I've used it many times to fill in areas of foam. I'm going to have to do that in a corner when I double track the main line, and I'm going to go and fill in where the topography of the track work goes down for the ballast line. I'm going to fill that in with probably this, and then carve it down because it gives me a pretty firm surface. So what it is we've got another great thing to use for layout construction. We've got what we know works, and we've got now something new to experiment with, and it might be very useful in that I think it's more dense. So I guess with that, that concludes this segment for What's Neat. For this segment of What's Neat, I'm with John Goodhart and this beautiful work of art that we're standing in. John, you call this the Lake Erie, Cincinnati, and St. Louis Railroad.
I do.
That's awesome, John. Welcome to the What's Neat show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for sharing this beautiful layout with the viewers of What's Neat.
You bet.
So I see a lot of Batavia in the design. Such a favorite layout through the decades up here in the Chicagoland area.
Yes.
It was one of my favorite layouts because the walk-around design and the smaller spaces, the 1 foot to 2 foot wide shelves, were amazing. Tell us about your passion and some of what went into this layout.
Well, the passion that I had was just wanting to build an operational type of railroad, one that would exemplify what I learned from Batavia, what the club layout was really like.
Right.
And from that, the ideas that came from being a member there transferred into being and building this. I knew that I wanted to build a large railroad, although some days I wish I did not, because if people have said this is a club railroad in a person's home, and to make it work and make it operate is, you've got to have the passion, you have to have the desire,
Yes.
you have to have the want. If you're lucky, you have to have the money too.
Yes.
So for me, what drives it all is hosting operation sessions, getting people involved. I have to help them understand what we're doing, but also, in a way, it's, you look at this and it's like it's a railroad, it's a layout. In some cases, in some forms, it's kind of an entity.
Yes.
And it really is, in a way, you're cleaning track. It's the heartbeat of the railroad, and it's just just trying to keep it running and keep it alive as an entity itself. And that's kind of mostly my passions behind it.
The one thing you said is you did design this layout specifically really for operation. You said that you're more into operation than you are the scenery, but you love the aesthetic aspect of what the scenery contributes to the operating session.
Yes.
So again, seeing Batavia in this and being one of my favorite layouts, I can immediately see where you're going with this. If I were to design a layout, I would go with the smaller shelf type spaces that you can reach at all times.
Yes.
That's something to me that is very convenient, especially for maintenance.
Yes.
So tell us about the track work on this. Your track work is magnificent. What brand of track and what code rail?
So the brand of track actually for the entire railroad is Pico. The code is 83. The switches, though, throughout most of the railroad are custom made by Randy Doman.
Okay.
They are fast track switches.
Nice.
That are all located that Randy had made. So when I was constructing the layout, I said, Randy, I'm going to need a ton of switches. And he came through and built many of these switches that were hand laid, and we fixed them right in with the code 83 of Pico. I mean, perfect rail height, no issues with heights between the two, and worked out really, really well. There are some Pico switches that have been facilitated into the railroad as well too. From the track actually sits in some sections, like up here, it's on a homosote spline.
Okay.
That we built, that I did myself. So took a sheet of homosote, cut it into 1 1/4 inch strips, and facilitated the sub-road bed. That made for a lovely contour of how the track looked, how we could get these wonderful broad curves, and I didn't have to worry about creating or working with tangents off of it.
Right.
I just naturally let it flow into the straightaway as well too. From that, I adhered the track mostly with silicone caulk, and then used a variety of paints, spray paints, to weather it.
Yes.
And then most of the ballast has been just Walthers type, or not Walthers, Woodland Scenics ballast.
Okay.
On through, using just kind of a gray blend,
Right.
mixed between medium and fine, is what I've been finding has been my own mixture, as well as there's been a little bit of some Arizona ballast, rock ballast is used as well.
Okay.
But that's generally the premise of the track.
About how many square feet do you have, and how long? Do you know how long your main lines are?
My main line is 725 feet long.
Okay.
The passing sidings are on average of 24 feet. I can accommodate 3 engines with generally about 28 cars. The room size is 1,120 square feet. So if you look all the way to the back wall, that is 50 feet from where we are standing.
Okay.
20 foot at the narrow, but it's 25 from here out to there. So 1120, plus I'm not including what's into the staging area as well too.
Very cool. So going back to operation now, you said that obviously you like to operate, and it sounds like once every 2 to 3 weeks you have sessions set up and actually pre-planned. You've got an amazing dispatchers panel upstairs that we're going to show some B-roll of. Absolutely beautiful the way that's set up.
Thank you.
And so tell us about how long does an operating session last, and about how many people does it require to run this work of art?
Absolutely. So an operating session, I'll have it run anywhere from 3 to 4 hours. I'll throw out a private, usually a crew call to usually a list of people. I don't generally publish it, but I will throw it out to a list of people. I'll get anywhere from usually 10 to as many as 15 or 16 invites that will return and want to respond and come and operate. During COVID, we were able to operate still. Granted, there was a lot of space. We weren't around a lot of people. Worked out great. Sometimes we wore masks, sometimes we didn't. But the nice thing was we had a lot of room. The interesting thing that I learned was I needed at least 7 people to run the railroad. And one of them had to be a dispatcher. That was it. There was maybe one person that would work the yard, and the general rest were maybe running the road or doing switches. But what I found was what my capacities are. What do you really need 15 people every time to run a railroad? Or can you get by with 7? Can you get by with 6? I think if you have those key integral people,
Yes.
to make it work, your dispatcher, a yard operator, you can make it all happen. And sessions, I've had sessions go about 3-4 hours.
That's absolutely amazing. Now, you've chose to go with a double deck layout,
Yes.
and you were describing your helix
Yes.
as being something that's fluid.
Yes.
It's definitely smooth. It's laid on 3/4 inch drywall, I believe. 5/8.
7-inch fire code drywall.
It's just well engineered, and it's easy to get to as well.
Yes.
Tell us about the design of that, and that it does take you to the 2 different levels.
Yep.
What are the level heights that you chose?
So the level heights, we'll start with the level heights first. Level heights first, I actually went with kind of a countertop level of about 36 to 38 inches.
Okay.
And then I knew that I wanted to have the upper level to kind of be a little bit around eye level. So somewhere around 48 to as much as 50 to 52. So I think we're running at about 38 here, and we're running at 53 or 54 here.
It's a good height.
It is a great height. You can see the action. You're looking right at this. You're not way above, and even if it's a little bit shorter, you're not really down below. And so once I knew what the height was, I then had to figure out the engineering of the helix.
Yes.
I'm not an engineering guy. But what was interesting was trying to figure out how we were going to do this, because our height spacing would have dictated what would have been our grade.
Okay.
And I knew that for the trains that I would be running, I didn't want a too steep of a grade, because then I would have needed to get helpers or pushers, or I would have had engines that would just been spinning their wheels, given that this is, we're in the middle of Ohio, and there's really no much in the way of big hills or mountains. So it took some planning, and it took some figuring out as to what we were going to make the spacing of the helix,
Okay.
and how we were going to get to it. And what drove that was kind of figuring out some math. 54 minus 38, how many inches? Okay, how many runs is that going to give us?
Correct.
And if I've got 5/8, 5/8, 5/8, what sort of spacing is that going to be? 3 inch,
That's
3.5,
right. Yeah.
4. And so I kind of played with it a little bit to kind of figure it out. And by the time we did get to the top of the grade, it actually worked out quite well.
I just love looking down this run with all those signals lined up. I can see a train just itching to run out on that main. So tell us, what system do you use to power this layout?
So actually, interestingly, there's a bit of a story to that.
Okay.
Years ago, when I built the layout and doing the layout and thinking about what did I want to do for throttle and signaling, I started off all with Digitrax. Lovely product. I was using Digitrax Simplex. It was great. I never really had any problems with remote receiving or really generally any problems with throttles dropping or anything like that.
Okay.
My problem that I ran into was as we started adding signaling, the LocoNet bus started seeing more and more traffic. So just like a computer network or an internet, we start seeing more action, we start seeing signals working, we start seeing switches talking, we start seeing throttles dictating what speeds engines are going to go. I want to throw the horn, I want to hit the bell. All of that starts putting traffic on your network.
Correct.
And so actually it was about a year ago that I ended up splitting the whole system. And I took the system and I removed the throttle bus from the LocoNet of the Digitrax,
Okay.
and purchased an NCE system. And so I split it out, and so now the signaling is all controlled through Digitrax still, but all of the throttle bus and all the throttle activity is controlled through NCE. And then I had to make that bridge for them to talk to each other, because you need that rail sync to happen.
That is so
So
true.
that when your train is going through a block that is detected by Digitrax, that NCE needs to know, hey, there's something here, and know that the throttle is controlling the action, and that the transponding and that the detection is picking up the activity.
Wow.
And so that became a much
Yes.
better sequence. It became a much better setup. Because I would have situations a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, where a signal would change, but the switch wouldn't move, or the switch would move and the signal wouldn't, the aspect wouldn't change. And so I'd get guys that would stop here at this location and say, hey, I've got a red over yellow, but I've got a straight track and there's another train coming. What do I do?
Right.
And so making that change really enhanced the operations, as well as the flow of traffic, as well as being able to put more trains across the road and move more freight and more traffic and make us more money. Because that's what we want
You
to
are
do.
very methodical in your thinking process. I really like that. And you have to be that way when you design an operational layout.
Yes.
Because this is essentially a big board game
Yes.
where a lot of different individuals
Yes.
totally enjoy
Yes.
what goes into this.
Yes.
And I'm telling you what, that dispatcher office upstairs is exquisite.
Yes.
Very well done.
Thank you.
Is there anything in closing that you might want to add?
It's a passion. It's and it has its up and downs, but I think the benefit is having a hobby.
Yes.
And my wife has a hobby. She has her own separate hobby. I have mine. We both respect what our hobbies are. She'll go away for a weekend for her hobby, and I'll have friends down, or I'll have an operating session weekend for my hobby.
Yes.
And you've got to have that. You've got to have that. Something that keeps you going. Something that just that drives you. And being that my father worked for the railroad years ago has just always been in me, and just something that I continue on with what I like doing.
Wow. Guys, I know you're all watching. Let's give John a hand because this one's amazing.
Nice job.
Right?
Thank you.
Very, very, very well done.
Thank you.
Thank you, John, for sharing this layout with the viewers of What's Neat. We would love to come back and operate it on it at some point.
Absolutely.
You're just up the road from St. Louis.
Yes.
And so with that is this segment for What's Neat. For this December segment of What's Neat, I've got Tyler Haney all the way from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, from Bachmann Industries, to tell us about the new exciting products as we end the year 2024. Hey, Tyler.
Hey, Ken. Great to be on the show again. As you said, this is the December edition, and it's going to be coming out right before Christmas. So we're going to kind of focus on some the perfect last-minute holiday gift, which is a train set.
Yes.
Of course, you know, a lot of the folks out there, those of you watching What's Neat, you're most likely already a seasoned modeler, but for those of you who are just getting started, or if you have a family member, a relative, a friend who's just looking to get started in model railroading, Bachmann has a wide range of train sets, and we're going to show off some of our newest arrivals for train sets, and some favorites.
There you go. How about that? Ready, set?
Here we go. We're going to start off. I've got HO scale, N scale, and some O and 30 as well for this episode. I'm going to start off by showing two HO scale sets, and these are sets that are exclusively available at Menards, home improvement stores out in your neck of the woods, Ken, in the Midwest, as well as online at menards.com. These are Menards exclusives. We work with them just about every year to bring out some exclusive train sets, and we've got two very nice looking ones this year. We've got the Red Hawk featuring the Santa Fe FC locomotive, gondola, a boxcar with opening doors, and a wide vision caboose. That's a nice little starter set. Comes with the 36-inch circle of snap fit easy track, the best and easiest track system in HO scale, especially for the beginners out there.
Right.
I'm going to stand up here so I can better show off this next set, which is a little bit bigger.
Wow.
This set is the Heartland Explorer.
Nice.
This one features the Sioux Line, got a Sioux Line GP40 in caboose, which is very fitting. The folks over at Menards, they like to do a variety of both a well-known kind of national railroad, both from either from the past or from the present, as well as the more regional ones. So we've got the Sioux Line one, which is a pretty cool one. We did a Sioux Line set a couple years ago, so this is our second Sioux Line set. And this is kind of the deluxe set. You get 3 freight cars, the steel reefer, the tank car, and the gondola. You get some accessories. You get figures, railroad signs, telephone poles. You can get started with putting some scenery on your new HO scale railroad right away. And you get a larger 47 by 38-inch oval of easy track with straights and curves.
Right.
So once again, those sets available exclusively in Menards stores and at menards.com. The rest of what I'm going to show you here is available from anywhere that fine train sets are sold. We're on BachmannTrains.com, of course, your local hobby shop, Amazon, and various other retailers. So, of course, we got to talk about the ever-popular Thomas & Friends line.
Yes.
Which has been going strong for over 20 years now in Bachmann.
Yes.
And next year is going to be the 80th anniversary of the Thomas & Friends franchise, and we've got some fun stuff in the works for that anniversary, so stay tuned in 2025 for that.
Okay.
For now, I just want to show off some of our starter sets. We've got the classic Thomas with Haney and Clarabelle set in the HO scale with the 36-inch circle. We've got Thomas the Tank Engine with the moving eyes and his coaches Haney and Clarabelle. We also offer that same set in N scale, as you can see here, as a circle of N scale easy track.
And you love N scale, don't you?
I do. I am. We were just discussing before we went on the air. I am an N scale modeler. I grew up on Thomas. I don't have the Bachmann Thomas yet, but I might need to get that just for nostalgia's sake.
Yes, you do. It runs good too.
Yeah. And we have a brand new N-scale Thomas & Friends set as well. This is Emily's passenger set.
Yes.
It's just arrived last week as we are recording this, and it will be shipping out to dealers by the time folks at home are watching this stream. It's got Emily, the Stirling single locomotive, and her 2 passenger cars, and a full oval of easy track. Sticking with N-scale for a moment while we're on the subject, for those of you who are not Thomas & Friends fans, as hard as that is for me to imagine, we do offer a variety of other N-scale starter sets as well. I'm going to show off 2 of the top-of-the-line ones. So for those of you who are more experienced modelers or maybe lapsed modelers wanting to get back into the hobby,
yes,
DCC sound value sets are a great way to do that. You get a large oval of easy track in both of these, and you get a locomotive that is equipped with DCC digital command control and has sound on board right out of the box.
Nice.
Got the roaring rails featuring the BNSF GP40 and a couple of freight cars, and the whistle stop special has our Baldwin 460 locomotive. And both of these sets come with our Easy Command Plus DCC controller, which gives you full access to all the light and sound and control functions right out of the box, and you can program up to 9 other locomotives on the Easy Command Plus.
Yes, wow. Train sets are what get everybody started in this hobby. I so remember getting my first Tyco train set. And the fact is, once you've got a train set, you've got the complete package. So if you're a grandmother or grandfather buying something for the children, I mean, it's the no-brainer gift. It truly is to get that model railroader started in your family.
It really is. It's the gift that keeps on giving, whether, there's a number of families out there and people who like to make trains kind of their holiday tradition. So it's great to have that. It'll last year after year for every time you set it up at Christmas, or it could be the start of your permanent model railroading empire.
And every model railroader, they always keep their engine from their first train set. It's just what happens in life.
Yeah. I mentioned Owen 30. For those of you who are not familiar with Owen 30,
yes.
It represents 1 to 48 scale O-scale trains that run on narrow gauge track, so HO scale track. And we have a couple of Owen 30 sets out. We have an East Broad Top freight train, a White Pass and Yukon passenger train.
Mm-hmm.
I want to show off one that's particularly seasonally appropriate, and this is the Owen 30 Christmas Village Streetcar set.
Yes.
What's cool about this Village Streetcar set and the Owen 30 line in general is, for those of you who have the collectible Christmas Villages from Department 56 and Limax and companies like that, Owen 30 trains are perfectly scaled to them. And to kind of capitalize on that, this set features a special speed controller here, which is on the back of a little trolley shed that goes on one end of the track. And the Village Streetcar set is an auto-reversing system, so it's a point-to-point set of track that as soon as the trolley gets to one end of the track, it'll pause and then go back the other direction.
Wow, yeah, it's a perfect idea. You can put that on the mantle and you can go back and forth through your little China buildings.
Yeah, it's perfect for that, adding some action and some railroading action in a tight little space.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Wow, that was very good thinking.
It was. I have to give credit to the late Lee Riley, our former VP of Product Development, who was instrumental in starting and building up the Bachmann Owen 30 line, and came up with all kinds of creative products like that.
We all loved Lee Riley. God bless him. I've got a video clip I'm just going to show for fun of him down here in the basement, standing among his babies on the shelf down here, all of the G-scale Shays and Climaxes and engines. It was great to have him here, and he was super great what he did for our entire industry.
Really was. We've been picking up the torch and coming up with more innovative Bachmann products the way he would have. So I'm going to turn things back to HO scale now to wrap things up. I've got 2 more of the advanced DCC sound value sets that I was talking about. Just like an HO scale, we've got or an N scale, we have an HO diesel set and a steam set.
Okay.
The Thunder Chief, featuring the Santa Fe, the blue freight paint scheme, which I think is a very sharp looking scheme. Just like the N scale sets, this includes the Easy Command Plus DCC controller and a expanded oval of Easy Track. And then we have the Echo Valley Express, featuring the Alco 260. This one's decorated for the Southern Railway. I really like the colorful Peabody coal hopper in this set. You have 3 more sets here from our licensing partners I'm going to show off.
Okay.
There was one Thomas and Friends set that I forgot to show off, and it's seasonally appropriate. The Thomas Saves Santa's Sleigh set. We've got Thomas dressed for the season with his Santa hat over his smokestack and a snowplow. We've got the flat car featuring Santa Claus's sleigh. And then we have if I can hold this up for the camera, we have a brake van, and you'll actually see there's a little Santa Claus riding in the brake van. So it tells a fun little story there. Uh, in addition to that, we've had a licensing relationship now with the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus now for over 10 years. And for those of you who are not aware, the circus closed down back in 2018, but just last year in 2023, they relaunched. They went back on the road with a brand new brand identity. And so to celebrate that, we're introducing the Circus Spectacular set, which is available now online and in your hobby shop, featuring just the, I think this is one of the most colorful train sets we've ever made.
That's a fun train set. Agreed.
Red, yellow, and blue colors.
Yes. That's awesome. That is colorful. That is cool. That is just, wow.
Yeah, it is. Of course, the circus is no longer using circus trains, but if it was, we kind of figured it would look something like that. And then finally, this is something that at the time of recording this, it's kind of up in the air. We're hoping to get it in by Christmas, but it's such a highly anticipated product that we couldn't not show it off.
Yes.
And this is the final packaging design for the Amtrak Acela 2.
Oh, sweet.
And it doesn't get, I think just the coolest thing about this is, it's technically a starter set, quote unquote. It's ready to run right out of the box. You've got our easy track with the concrete ties to represent the Amtrak Northeast Corridor. You've got your speed controller. You've got the Amtrak Acela 2 with the power car, which is DCC ready. So, you add all that up, it's really a super advanced set, and it's all ready to run.
Yes.
Right out of the box.
Can you hold the box up? I want to see the engines.
Yeah.
There you go. Wow, look at that. Those engines are shorter to me. Are they shorter to you? Those are not. That's not 75 foot or 65 foot long, is it? Those are like 50 foot long locomotives.
Yeah, they are a little bit shorter compared to the original Acela, I believe. But still.
Yeah, wow. They must have made it lighter weight for speed.
Yeah, it's definitely they've incorporated a lot of the new technology from the European high-speed trains in Italy and France in particular.
Nice.
I'll show the back of the set here. You saw in the front of the box, this comes with 3 passenger cars. The Constance is ready to run right out of the box.
Right.
And if you want to bring it up to the prototypical length.
6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I see that. That's well thought out because now people can understand what they need to make the actual prototype.
Yes. There's 6 add-on cars which will be available in separate sale, and those should be arriving at the same time as the Acela 2 set.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we're hoping, fingers crossed, we'll be in time for Christmas, if not in January. I just had to show that off because we're
awesome.
so excited about that project.
Okay, that's the one to put on the Christmas list right there because it has a future where you can add on to it down the road. Oh
That's
my
right.
gosh. One thing I got to say, Christmas 1973, I think my uncle gave me a set of plastic fill buildings and it was 6 in a box and I still have the gas station. Those buildings carried me through grade school and high school, and it's, the stuff that Bachmann has done for our hobby, just hats off to you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so with that, I think we've covered everything, haven't we?
I believe we have. That's, of course, far from, that's only a very small portion of what we do here at Bachmann. You can always check out our entire line at bachmanntrains.com. Make sure to keep an eye out at the end of January going into February for new product announcements. We'll be showing them on our website, and of course, we'll be showing them off on What's Neat.
There you go. And that concludes this segment of What's Neat, and it also concludes our December What's Neat video for 2024. Thank you to all the folks that have been watching this show since we started producing it back in 2012 in November. Just fun. What a fun ride. Wishing everybody a happy holiday season. Please be safe. Happy New Year. And here comes 2025. So let's go run some trains.
Let's do it.
All of the products seen on this episode of What's Neat are available from Lombard Hobbies in Lombard, Illinois, or order online at lombardhobby.com. And by Broadway Limited Imports, the cutting-edge leader in model trains. Check out their website at broadway-limited.com. Bachmann Trains. Now that's the way to run a railroad. Check out their website at bachmanntrains.com.